So the lesson is law of return. Has everybody finished doing your returns? Taxes returns? Tomorrow is a due date.
Talk about it.
Yes.
Caesar's what belongs to Caesar, right?
Yes. Yeah. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So the talk for the night is also one other law, more important. Is also related to return, and it's a divine law. And I want to do some kind of exercises for us to get connected. Some of us were here already during the prayer time, so our thoughts are elevated, and if you weren't, so we're going to have another opportunity. And this is a recommendation. Whenever we want to study something to elevate ourselves, when we are before to do a workshop or before attend to a Spiritist talk or listen on the radio, on the podcast, watch a YouTube video or reading, it's very important and very useful for us to connect to the higher realms so we can get inspirations that's good for us right now. And to also helps us to enable, like to turn up the confusion and to be able to understand the full limit of our potential, of our intelligence, of our feelings. It's also very important for us to realize that whatever we are learning, it's for us. It's not for others. It's not for us to teach others. And because we are studying Spiritist view on the gospel, and the gospel is about building the kingdom of heaven in our heart. So the kingdom of heaven is only built in our heart when we are practicing learning about our limitations, about our potentials, about our acquisitions, and to work in the inner reform. So this exercise, it's a recommendation for us to connect to our Father, and we're going to ask a simple question. And if we have time, we do it again in the end. So it's good to do it in the beginning and the end, because in the beginning, it's kind of like us connecting to our conscious and figuring out what do I need right now, and how can I take these teachings the best for me right now. And then we can do that in the end too. Then now that I've relearned, revealed this, or learned something new, how does that apply to that question? And then we continue in this progressive learning. So we make our study more useful rather than just passively listening. We become more active. So to connect to God, to think about God, since God, as the Spiritist doctrine tells us, God is not a person and doesn't have an image or a shape. Some of us like to connect to nature. So I got here these flowers. They're pink, but here they show like purple. And this is something we can do also at home, and do it every day if you can, once in a week. Practice these meditations and practice prayer, listening, asking the questions, and practicing to getting the answers. Oh, YouTube video is loading. But we can create these images in our mind too. And sometimes we may start by looking at image, but then later we close our eyes and we see, and then we can give it the colors we want, and we find a peace. So I'll invite us all to relax, and if you'd like to close your eyes and connect to our Father. You may want to go to a very beautiful place in nature, place that gives you peace. I'm going to put the 2 foot on the floor. Concentrate on your breathing. And you may want to invite a superior being that loves you so much, that you love. It could be Jesus, your guardian angel, protector spirit, someone who you trust. And as you connect yourself to your essence, to your conscience, you can ask your Father the following question. Father, what do you want from me? Okay, in your time, you may open your eyes and come back to Joanna and Angelis, Spiritist Society. Welcome. Is everybody here? So it's very important for this type of exercise. We just did a minor exercise, like meditation, guided meditation, a very short one. And of course, in like 2 minutes, it's not always easy to concentrate and to find that it's possible. And through the practice, we get it. And sometimes we don't know the answer. We don't hear the answer. But it's okay. It's part of the exercise. It's very important for us to know that the answer always comes. So if we didn't hear, it's just that we need to clean up our spiritual ears. And basically the answer comes, doesn't mean that you're going to see a spirit close to you, or not all of us are mediums, ostensive mediums that can see the spirits. But it can come as a thought, something that you hear, some recommendation, what we call inspiration. And the way we can validate that is to connect to our feelings, the most sublime feelings that we have. And so once we get the answer, we go and do like a check with our feelings. Does this feel elevated? Does this feel that God is speaking to me? And that helps. Because if you feel something's wrong, then we may be masking, and we may be going out of the way. And if you didn't hear the answer, just pay attention today during the lecture. It may come to you during the lecture. It may come when doing receiving passes, the passes that we have after, as long as you're in the best state to receive, or throughout the week. Okay, so if I had to summarize the goal for the lecture, law of return, it's basically what the sentence that we can see here. There will be resurrection for all. These are the words of Emmanuel, a superior spirit who was a mentor of Chico Xavier, a Brazilian medium, very important to Spiritism, that lived in the past century. He passed away in 2002, a great philanthropist and Spiritist author. And Emmanuel, we could think him as a figure that was responsible for the development of the gospel according to Spiritism in our hearts, on our planet, especially in Brazil. So Emmanuel says, and basically another thing, when we are looking at this book, the Living Spring books, you guys know the Living Spring collection, Portuguese Fonte Viva. So basically, I think it's 4 or 5 books that Emmanuel wrote through Chico Xavier, and those books takes parts of the Bible, of the New Testament, the Gospel, and it takes like 2 versicle, they say right, verses of the Bible, and he develops that. And basically, we've been doing in the lectures, we take one text and we develop even more to our context. And so Emmanuel says there will be a resurrection for all, but with the difference that the righteous will have in a new life, and the evil in a new condemnation as a consequence of the wrongdoing. So basically, when Jesus said, and it was captured by John on chapter on 5:29, and those who have done good will go to the resurrection of life, be raised to live. And those who have done evil to the resurrection of the condemnation. So basically, Jesus was saying that the resurrection will be for all, but when we do good, it is to a new life. And when we don't do good, which means that we did bad, then it's to the resurrection of the condemnation, means we're going to come back and go through the same challenges again to learn the lessons that we didn't learn. So this is the summary of the lecture. If we have to stop now, if I go sleep now, that's the main message. And we're going to develop that. And I did this lecture, the same text. It's different, I feel like 2 or 3 years ago. Does anybody remember? Was anybody here? Love return, Katie was here. And it's different. And the interesting thing is I brought the content, and the class, the SSS class tonight, is the same topic. It's a different objective, but in the same topic of reincarnation. So you're all invited. The SSS students are already here. I'm gonna stay for the class. And if you're not a student, I talked to the coordinator, which was Marisa. And you are invited to attend to the class as a guest. If you want to register, then talk to her, and she will give you the requirements and everything. But as just join as a guest, please talk to her. So we're going to develop even more this topic. And now we did this exercise, Father, what do you want from me? And this is a very interesting question that we should ask ourselves every day, and before starting a project or after finishing, when we're planning an activity. And we could look at this question with different perspectives of time. You could ask about right now. So if I'm now here studying the gospel, studying the teachings by Emmanuel, Allan Kardec, then what do we want from me from now? What is the best I can take from this moment as a learner of the gospel? But it can also be in terms of life. What is the purpose of this life? And the topic of the lecture is reincarnation. So what is the purpose to me? Your purpose, Father, to me for this specific reincarnation. This is a very critical question for our lives. The more we ask, the more we are connected to the answer, and the more we're going to direct ourselves to happiness. Otherwise, we have to come back again for the same type of challenges. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is, I believe it's in the gospel according to Spiritism, there is a spirit that says that reincarnation is the word of the divine alphabet. And basically going to just focus on the word. And when I ask this question, what do you want from me? I'm talking to my Father about his will. Let us make an analogy to parents on the planet, or fathers, or mothers. When they die, how do they live their will in general? Speaking physically.
Their kids, I guess. They write it down.
Their kids, but they write it down?
They write it down.
Why do they write it?
Some who have approved. Most.
No, right. Those who write, where do they write? Is it on like a paper?
Yeah.
I've never seen it. So
Yes.
it's in a paper. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Paper.
Some keep in their mind.
In their mind, yeah. Physically, it's represented in the paper. How about our Father, ultimate Father? Where is represented his will?
In our mind. In our souls.
In our minds, yeah. So that's where it's presented. It's represented in many ways. We can go into the Bible. It's interesting because the word testament, in Portuguese, the will is testament. So it could be in the Bible, that's where it's represented, but it's presented to us in our conscience, in our mind. And if we continue this analogy, why parents write down the will on the paper? Is this some kind of requirement, or why does society have that?
So they know by
To prove, but if they spoke to you, isn't that
Then your
enough?
2 kids could fight. No, my mom
Kids
said
could
this.
fight.
My mom
So
said
it's a
that.
legal situation, right? So it's
usually when they have
it's when there is in the law.
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It depends on the culture, it depends on the family, but this is a legal requirement. And we can think, and I like to think like this, that our Father's will, it's written, like Michi said, and it's in the Spirit's book, it's written in our conscience. And I like to think that my Father's will is his law. And his law, when we talk about law, we talk about justice. And our Father is the supreme justice of the universe, the supreme intelligence, the supreme justice. And justice talks about our rights and our duties. So when I, as a children of the Supreme Father, when I'm studying his will, I think it's the same as I'm studying his law. And in Spiritism, we talk a lot about these laws. On the Spirit's book, if you go to part 3, we talk about the moral laws, because there's the physical laws that science studies, and there are the moral laws. Ethics or philosophy or religion study, and we all should study this, because this is what God gives us to fulfill our ultimate purpose, which is our ultimate right, which is to be happy. But it is also a duty, because nobody can make me happy. Only I can make myself happy. So to be happy is a duty and a right. So now let's go to reincarnation. So reincarnation comes from the Latin, and I think everybody knows some Latin language here. So re means do again, or back. In means inside, into. Carne comes for caro, which means flesh or meat, our body. And Asian is from action, means the action. And the goal for the talk about reincarnation is to connect to many of our Father's will, many laws, and to show how the law of return, it's also part of our Father's will, because it's congruent to other laws. Okay, so re, it's never too late. Doing again. In, it's inside, and in not in a physical way, but in an abstract way. What is inside, deepest inside of us, is who we really are. We are spirits, the intelligent beings of the universe. The body and actions, the law of work. Okay, so I think that when we study reincarnation, and this is, I'm gonna take here the reading for the night, the law of return. It is very clear. So let me reread again a specific part, and then I'm gonna comment. Individuals dedicated to the good will find the fountain of life as they bathe in the waters of corporeal death. Whereas those who have taken pleasure in evil annul their own possibilities of resurrection in the light. They must repeat their expiatory course. It's the return to the lesson or to the remedy. There is no other alternative. And throughout the years and the centuries, when we were studying divine laws, we accumulated one specific vice that is still probably have some remains in our unconscious mind and our emotions in terms of fear, which is to believe on eternal hell. And that's because most of us have failed repeatedly. If we had to see it repeatedly, we were probably more connected to the concept of the heaven. And the Spiritist view on our Father is that our Father is perfect and our Father loves us. And basically, if our Father that loves us so much to the infinite, something that we cannot even understand, would it be a just and loving Father if we were condemned for eternal hell, eternal suffering, for what we did on our existence? No. So basically, the re of the word reincarnation is connecting to the law of mercifulness. We always have a second chance. What we're doing right now, what we did in the past, if it's in the wrong path, that will be the consequence to help me, to direct me to the right path. But I always have a second chance. And we're going to repeat this a little bit more as we go forward. Now, for the in, which I talk about the spirit, the intelligent beings, what is a spirit? I don't need the Allan Kardec answer. I don't need the official answer. But what do you think? What do you think, like, or understand?
The soul that's outside the body.
Soul that's outside the body.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, and we're talking about good or bad. We're talking about resurrect to the life, resurrect to the condemnation. So this soul that's outside the body, is this, who created the soul? God. That's the name that we give to the Creator. And did God create the soul good or bad? No. Ignorant. So we can go to the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, Codifier of Spiritism. He asked that question, and it's question 114, and I'm gonna read some of 114, 115. Are spirits good or bad by nature, or are they same spirits made better through their own efforts? The same spirit, that's the response from the spirits, superior spirits, Allan Kardec collected and put in this book. The same spirits made better through their own efforts. In growing better, they pass from a lower to a higher order. And then Allan Kardec goes to question 115. Are some spirits created good and others created bad? God has created all spirits in a state of simplicity and ignorance. That is to say, without knowledge. He has given to each of them a mission with a view to enlighten them, to make them gradually arrive at perfection through the knowledge of the truth. So there is a lot into this answer. We created simple, ignorant of us, so there's the law of equality. We are created equal. He has given each of them a mission. So there is a mission for all of us with a view to enlighten them. So we have the mission to be enlightened and to make them gradually arrive at perfection. So our ultimate mission is to reach perfection. All of us. So this is also part of the law of equality. Through the knowledge of the truth. And thus to bring them nearer and nearer to himself. So our ultimate mission is to get closer and closer to God, to the infinite. This perfection is for them the condition of eternal and unalloyed happiness. So like we were talking earlier. So our mission, which is our ultimate right and our ultimate goal, is to accomplish the eternal and unalloyed, the pure happiness. And that happens with the perfection. Can I achieve the pure happiness without having become purely perfect?
I don't know.
So as long as, so if somebody has, are you happy? And as a practitioner of Spiritism, you could say, ask myself to my conscience, did I become pure? Am I pure? Not yet, most likely. So I'm not purely happy. So we can answer back to ourselves. And of course, we can be relatively happy, and that happens as much as we are aligned with God's will. Because as we are not fully responsible for our free will, because we still make mistakes, we're not perfect yet, we make the bad use of the free will. So we need to redirect to be aligned with God's will, which is his law in our conscience. Spirits acquire knowledge by passing through the trials imposed on them by God. Some of them accept these trials with submission and arrive more quickly at the aim of the destiny. Others undergo them with mirroring and thus remain through their own fault at a distance from the perfection and the felicity promised to them. So I recommend rereading this part at home and reflect upon. And later on, Allan Kardec makes a comparison to children, and the spirits agreed with the comparison. So we can think that as spirits, when a father here has children, who here has children? Parents. So maybe 50%. So parents, what happens when your kid, I don't know, does bad in school? Are they expelled of school? They can never study again anymore? They have a second chance. And so how come a spirit who in the beginning is created simple, ignorant, is this spirit able to become perfect in a single life?
No.
You just can think about the most perfect things that we have in terms of arts, engineering, technology, science knowledge. sometimes takes many lives, generations to develop. So imagine our perfection as spirits, the creators of, discoverers of the science, or creators of technology. So if it's not possible to reach that in one life, would our Father be just to have given only one life to accomplish perfection? And how about those, like the Spirit says, the mirror, the rebellious spirits? What happened to them? If we make, or to us, when we make the bad choices, are we condemned forever? That's the view we had of a revenging Father. But now Spiritism tries to reconnect to the beginning of Christianism, where Jesus taught us that our Father is a loving Father. And a loving Father will always give us a second chance. No, then, so for the Spirit who needs to go through many existences, first, because not possible in just one. Secondly, because do you want the other or the other here song? Sure. Secondly, because we have free will, and so some achieve that goal earlier. But why do we need the body? This is an important question for us to ask ourselves. Because right now we are here connected to this beautiful body, healthy body, and connect to a family, connect to friends. So why do we need this body? And it's the analogy is the same. If we think about kids when they go to school. So parents, do your kids go or went to school? Anybody who kids never either went to school or studied at home? So everybody, the kids, was it option for them? No. So they had to go to school.
Yes.
Was it good for them?
Yes.
Did they like school?
No.
Sometimes, don't like.
Not necessarily.
So the same us, spirits. We can see, and actually the spirits, they use this analogy, they are planets like school. Sometimes we like, sometimes we don't, enjoy, but it's mandatory. We all have to reincarnate one time or another until we reach perfection. And when we reach perfection, we're not children, spiritual children, not children, sorry, kids. We are adults as spirits. Now, even the kids that they like to go to school, is it still an option for them? An option or
No.
it's obligation? It's obligation, yes. They don't have a choice. They have to go to school, even if they like. I used to like to learn. There are things I didn't like school, but it was still, I didn't have a choice. Don't go to school. Oh, Mom, I don't want to go to school today. Sometimes some moms would say, okay, today you don't go. But most of the times, and if you said this every day, no, you're going to go, no matter what. And it's the same for us. So why would God demand that we incarnate? Is that related to the goal of happiness that we talked earlier?
Yes.
Yes. So let's go to Allan Kardec. And now we're going to the Genesis. So the Genesis, it's very interesting. There's some, back then, Allan Kardec was connecting the teachings of science, the findings of science, and some things science have developed more back then. So we might go to the Genesis and find some things that seems incongruent with the current science, but that's because back then that was the current knowledge. And Allan Kardec said, whenever science comes and finds something that we said it was wrong, follow science. So he was following science then, which to a certain level was in development. And it's very interesting how many things were developed right at Allan Kardec's time, like Darwin's theory. So, actually I have, so chapter 10 and chapter 11 of the Genesis, which Allan Kardec talks about our body. And he goes about, so what is our body? It's a set of cells connected with functions, and they get organized into different organs. And the cells are nothing more than chemical molecules that react with the environment, with itself, they multiply, they have DNA. And what else? What else do we know about our bodies? We need to breathe, we need to eat, we need to provide to this body and to keep it secure, protected, healthy. And Allan Kardec, in the Genesis, when he's talking about our body, in chapter 10, he says that in the corporeal, purely anatomical point of view, man belongs to mammals, from which it differs only slightly in outward form. And basically he goes on and compares, and basically, if you just stay on the biological point of view, we are very close to animals. And we even sometimes categorize as animals. But when you go to spiritual point of view, now that's different. We have free will. And some may argue, oh, animals, they do have some kind of free will. Yeah, some kind of free will. But compared to man, there's a huge distance. Same thing as intelligence. Animals have some kind of intelligence. But compared to man, it's a huge difference. So we were watching a friend's dog this week, and one night I heard the dog like making noises. So I can clearly, based on what science knows a little bit, understand that the dog was dreaming. And recently Katie showed me a video that is a dog dreaming that he was swimming. So it's very funny because dogs swimming, they make these movements, and then he wakes up like, wow. So we can think they have some kind of thought, but compared to us, it's so different. The animals is much more connected to the instinct, and in us, the thoughts is more connected to. It should be more connected to a real to the reasoning and to who we really are. We are intelligent beings, and we have a purpose. And then now back to our question. So Allan Kardec says then on chapter 11 of the Genesis, and the necessity for the incarnated spirit to provide for the nourishment of the body, for its security and well-being, the constraint of applying its faculties in research, in exercising and developing them, renders its union with matter useful for its advancement. That is why reincarnation is a necessity. So basically, comparing to the children, they have to go to school to learn, so law of progress. They have to go to school and do the exercises, so law of work. And if the parents do the exercise for them, do they learn? No. So there is also the law of responsibility. You're responsible for doing your exercises. And they have to go there because through the experience they have at school, they're able to learn. Now, if you go to us, the spirits that were creating simple, are we still simple ignorant? Does anybody here thinks you are in the first incarnation? You don't have to raise your hand. No, for sure we are not. I could even argue that there are still some primitive spirits, not plants, like very isolated, but they might help you on the first and maybe the second. So we are here advanced spirits. We are complex. We have acquired knowledge. We still have a long way to go. We might be closer to the ignorance than to enlightenment. But we are here right now because we already made so many mistakes repeatedly. And we have those expiations to help us to direct the right way. And we need the incarnation because this needs that the body provides gives us the impulse to develop our intelligence. But since we are not just biological beings, we live in society, we have emotional needs, and other people around us, we need them to interrelate in life. They need us, and they also have emotional needs. Then we need to develop other types of things that perhaps animals don't need, which is related to the moral. So animals which act purely instinct, so when a lion kills and eats another animal, is that evil? No, because they don't have a choice. This is their instinct. This is how they survive. But if we did that to another person, then would that be evil?
Yes.
Because we are not just instinct. So we are rational beings, and we have learned. Perhaps if we go to the primitive man, first incarnation, if they did that, it would be probably related to instinct, and we couldn't say that they were doing evil because we didn't know it. We were starting to learn. And this is a long other discussion for another research and study. And then Allan Kardec says that besides that, so besides coming here for our investment, we also contribute to the planet, to the place that we come. So we contribute to the society, we contribute to nature, taking care of the animals, raising kids. So we are here both to develop ourselves because the matter puts us in that direction, but also to contribute because God acts through His children. So I think we're reaching the end, and basically action is if we don't do the exercise, we have to do again. So that's the summary of the lesson is the resurrection of the condemnation is that if we fail to achieve the purpose of that existence and all the program, all the challenges we had, it was there for a purpose specific to each one of us. And if we didn't connect, if we didn't do, even if we didn't ask ourselves, but there's no way we cannot know. So if you're a mother, some part of your purpose is related to be a mother. There's no way you can, it's not part of my purpose. I'm a mother, but that's not the most important thing. It is part of the most important thing for you. And if you're not parents, dedicated to maybe to a science, to arts, and even if you do all the work of matter, the work that we do on the body, taking care of our body, helping the environment, developing the relationships. There's also the work that is only for us to do, which is what? Which words can we do? We can describe this.
Inner transformation.
Inner transformation, exactly. Can anybody in the universe, Judy, transform you internally?
Transform me?
Yeah, as a spirit, yeah. Can somebody come and say you transform into a perfect spirit?
No.
If I'm impatient, can anybody develop patience from me? It's like when we take medicine, the medicine is for the patient. So if the patient doesn't take medicine, no matter how much we want them to get better, it's for the patient to take the medicine. So when invite you to when go to the passe, remember it's not mandatory, it's a transfer of energy. The goal is to put ourselves in a calm state of mind, believe in God, trust Him, and use everything that we practice on this talk tonight and reflect and ask that question again. So the first question that I put here in the beginning was, Father, what do you want from me? And then I will invite you, even if you don't go to passe, if you're here, because it's important to stay in silence for others and for you, is the continuation of that question. It's actually the same question with different perspectives. Father, what is the purpose of this existence? And then let's practice asking this question, and the answer, remember that the answer always comes. So if you didn't hear, we ask more and practice more and trust the answer and make the choice. Because at the end of the day, there's a law of free will. So actually, at the end of the day, I'm going to read the last message, the last paragraph of the message of law of return. There will be a resurrection for all, but with the difference that the righteous will have it in a new life, and the evil in a new condemnation as a consequence of their own wrongdoing.